Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Ainun.
My name is Purnandaniswany.
So today we would like to present our material about linguistic turn in cultural studies. Today we will discuss about 3 points. The first is language as medium of power, B, language and gender and ethnicity, and the last is language and mass media or communication. So the first topic is about language as medium of power. We used to think that language was just a tool for communication, but now language has become increasingly politicized and implicate in social struggle. So consequently, argument has moved from seeing language as a neutral instrument for objectively representing and communicating the views of uniform grouping to see language as a politically and culturally charged medium over which groups rest for control. The second point is cultural politics introduce the dimension of inequalities in power and authority in cultural forms and the contested nature of cultural practice. So it is this concern that drive the analysis of language when it is linked with the domain of class, race, or gender. Language also as a communicative from which represent, construct, and reproduce social and cultural inequality. So language of dominant culture often get prioritized, while minority language might be seen as inferior or unimportant. Okay, the next slide. The ways of speaking such as dialect, local language, accent, choice of words, and use of grammar were all accessed and ranked against the social conventions of language as type in written language. This way of speaking is not just about words, but also it reflects our entire way of life. The specialized lexicon and forms of speech that characterize certain social groupings serve to facilitate communication among those who belong to the group but exclude those who are outside and cannot speak the language. It is debatable whether specialized lexicons or semantic domains can be ranked in terms of functional use, some being more useful than others. But what is certain is that possible to rank the social groupings who use particular semantic domains. So, for example, the professional language of doctors and lawyers is more prestigious than that of youth groups. Bernstein's also his analysis suggests that the class base of English society is perpetuated and made visible through language. Language both represents and constitute the class system. Okay, the next slide.
So I will explain about the language, gender, and ethnicity. So the first is language and gender. So language and gender intersect in complex ways, serving as a constant reminder that language isn't merely a tool for communication. It's also a reflection of social dynamics and power structures within a society. Robin Lakoff, a seminal work in 1975, shed light on how language isn't a natural entity but is deeply intertwined with notions of gender and power. So Lakoff's argument deposits that women within the framework of societal norms are positioned as lesser subjects compared to men. So this positioning is mirrored in the language of the use. So Lakoff suggests that women's speech is often characterized as weak due to the form which corresponds to their perceived subordinate status in relation to the men. So the notion challenged the idea that language is solely a means of communications, emphasizing its role in perpetuating and reinforcing gender of hierarchies. So, for instance, women may use phrases like "I think," "maybe," or "I'm not sure" as hedge to mitigate the directness of their statement. Similarly, the tag question like "Isn't it?" or "Don't you think?" serve to seek validation or approval from the listener, reflecting a linguistic tendency towards seeking consensus rather than asserting dominance. So politeness markers such as please and thank you further contribute to the perception of women's language as accommodating and differential. So these linguistic patterns, according to Lakoff, are not inherent to women but are socially conditioned response to their subordinate status within patriarchal societies, and women may employ these linguistic strategies as a means of navigating social expectations and avoiding confrontation or backlash. Uh, and the characterization of women's speech as weak not only reflects societal attitude towards gender but also underscores the pervasive influence of language in shaping and perpetuating gender inequalities. So Tennant in 1990 emphasized the cultural differences rather than supremacy and subordination. So Tennant divided the characteristic of female and male of the speech. So the male talk characteristic is hierarchies, independence, information, attention, big talk, and superiority. So the characteristic of female talk is network intimacy, sharing, symmetry, small talk, inferiority, and powerless. So Tannen does not see woman language as inferior to men's because they create a different discourse about the world. So woman's talk has a positive value that emphasizes inclusion rather than exclusion and cooperation. So the next topic is language and ethnicity. So the terms of ethnicity and ethnic groups are employed in an attempt to put some distance between the historically racist implications of race and to emphasize that it's cultural and not biological difference that are the key distinctions. So in the 19th century, many European research classified people by race, including white, black, and yellow. And based on this classification, it is considered an immutable characteristic. Miles, in 1989, explained that efforts to establish the racial differences are currently considered false, and this makes a race a concept in categorizing oneself. So, males tend to choose race over ethnicity as the inequality in culture. Hall in 1978 conducted the research on the moral panic caused by the emergence of mugging as a social problem. Although the meaning of race has evolved over the centuries, there are no biologically found differences between the genetic makeup of different races. And in 1966, Barretter and Engelman applied about the Bernstein theory to the language of black children in the U.S. and con- concluded that the abilities of lower class black children were seen in their limited speech. And in Barretter and Engelman explanation, these children showed that a lack of ability to use a language as a tool to obtain information. However, in a study conducted by Labov on the use of the English by black youth who showed a difference in form of speech in the middle class, and this illustrates poor language only in the middle class ideology. So Hall traced the development in moral panics that have similarities to those that occur earliest in youth in the 1960s. There were myths about black muggers that created fears about the security, race, and immigration. As a case in point in the 1970s, they showed the moral panic in mugging as a deviant behavior.
So I will continue the material. So the next topic is about language and mass media or communication. Um, so we do not see visual imagery and the mass media as so simple as a window on the world, showing us truth and reality. What the mass media give us is a selected view of the world, which is always given to us from a certain perspective and angle. So the mass media does not present the world, but rather give us a representation of it. Next slide. So there are three issues of media representations. The first is mass media representation of race and ethnicity. The second is mass media representation of celebrity. And the last is mass media representation of gender. So the next slide. Mass media representation of race and ethnicity. So it is often assumed by the mass media that ethnic or racial groups are fundamentally different, with black and white frequently set up as binary opposite. So stereotype ways of portraying black and minority ethnic people in the mass media today may be less obvious, but are still occurrence. For example, white also represent the civilized, sophisticated, rational, scientific, and good, while not non-white also represent like primitive, so non-white people continue to be media. For instance, television show, films, and popular music frequently portray like black men as a gangster or thugs, and black women as sexualized and performative, or generate moral panics. At the next slide. So Today, image of black people are often used in advertising, film, and music to represent something as a cool or part of street or urban culture. Though some could argue that through this, black culture is being portrayed in a more positive light. This is still a very stereotypical and one-dimensional view of black people, and one that still carries many negative connotation and connection. Okay, the next slide. So the second issue is mass media representation of gender. In terms of mass media, women are portrayed as sexual objects and fulfilling their traditional roles as wives, mothers, and partners. For instance, in the way women are objectified in men's magazines and advertising, but also in other aspects of popular culture, such as in song lyrics. So there is some evidence that women taking more active and prominent roles within the mass media. For example, journalists, television presenters, and movie or digital game action heroes such as Lara Croft in both and games films. And also the mass media reflects society not as it really is, but rather how it would like to see itself. Women are also represented in the media in traditional male domains such as sport. For example, Van Zoon, 1994, argued that in sport photography, male athletes are always portrayed in active roles, their bodies, heart, and tongue, never passive and never yielded to the viewer. Though the rise in popularity of exercise and sport for women in recent years has increased the portrayal of women in the mass media in more active performing roles. Lead and Lamkin 1992 suggests that women are still most likely to be depicted in the mass media in pose rather than athletic shots. Okay, the next slide.
So the next topic is mass media representations of celebrity. So in the modern society, the concept of celebrity has undergone a profound transformation. While in the past, fame was predominantly associated with notable achievement or exceptional talents. Today's celebrity status often emerges from media exposures, societal fascinations, or manufactured personas rather than tangible accomplishments. The shift in the dynamics of celebrity culture has given rise to various theories and frameworks for understanding the phenomenon. One prominent perspective on contemporary celebrity culture is offered by Chris Rojek in his work from 2001. Rojek distinguished between three distinct types of celebrity. The first is ascribe, shift, and the second is attribute. Ascribe celebrity pertains to individuals who inherit or are born into fame, often due to their familial connection or biological lineage. This form of celebrity is not earned through personal merit, but is rather bestowed upon individuals by virtue of their ancestry. Example of ascribed celebrity include members of royal families or descendants of famous figures whose renown extends across generations. In contrast, a safe celebrity is acquired
through the perceived accomplishment or talents of individual in open competition. This type of celebrity is more linked with traditional notions of success and recognition based on merit, as if celebrities often excel in fields such as sport, entertainment, business, or the arts, earning widespread acclaim and admiration of their skills. Achievement or contribution to their respective industries. Their fame is built on tangible achievements and public recognition of their talent and hard work. So, attribute celebrity, according to Roger, is a product of the representation of individuals as noteworthy or exceptional by cultural producers, particularly the mass media. In today's media saturate the environment, the line between genuine talent and manufacture celebrity has become increasingly blurred. Cultural producers, including entertainment industry executive, publicists, and media outlets, play a significant role in shaping public perceptions of individuals and elevating them to celebrity status through strategic branding, publicity campaigns, and the media exposure. As a result, individuals who may lack substantial achievements who our talents can still attain celebrity status through savvy marketing and media manipulation. However, the mass media's creation of celebrity can often result in short-lived fame and fleeting attention in an era characterized by rapid information dissemination, viral trends, and short attention spans. Celebrities can rise to prominence quickly but also fade into obscurity just as rapidly. The ephemeral nature of media-driven celebrity underscores the superficiality and transience of fame in the contemporary culture, where individuals can achieve overnight stardom only to be supplanted by the next viral sensation or media sensation. In conclusion, so the next material is audiences and reception. The first is process of communications and representation as involving complex patterns of interaction and the interpretation between the sender and receiver of a message. So the process of communication and representation entail intricate interactions and interpretation between message and receiver, contrary to the traditional view of communication as a one-way transmission. In this dynamic model, message production and reception form a continuous loop where messages are not only transmitted but also received, interpreted, and sometimes transformed by the audience. The sender constructs a message based on their intentions and cultural context, but its meaning is constructed through the interaction between the sender's encoding and the receiver's decoding. This process is influenced by various factors, including cultural background, personal experiences, and social context. The second is the relationship between message or textual production and its reception should be understood as a complex cycle rather than an indirectional process. So, the rise of digital media and interactive technologies has further complicated the communication process. Online platforms enable immediate feedback, discussion, and collaboration among users, blurring the boundaries between sender and the receiver. Social media, in particular, facilitate dialogue and co-creation of content transforming communication into a collaborative and interactive endeavor. So the next is uh, so the next material is Stuart Hall, encoding, decoding, and ideology. So the first is in encoding or decoding. Hall argued that television's program, and by the implication all others forms of text, should be understood as a meaningful discourse. And the second is the television text or sign is very complex. Furthermore, it can be decoded in the different ways by the audience. And the last is the negotiate code may also operate within this framework, but will allow for disagreements within it. So in Stuart Hall concept, he asserted that television programs and by extension all forms of media text should be regarded as a meaningful discourse. This means that media text convey message and carry cultural meanings that are open to interpretation by the audience. According to Hall, the television text or sign is highly intricate and multifaceted. It contains layers of meaning, cultural reference, and symbol that can be decoded in various ways by different audience members. So each viewer brings their own set of experience, belief, and cultural backgrounds to the interpretation process, which influences how they decode the message present in the text. Hall introduced the concept of the negotiate code, which acknowledged that audience members may not passively accept the dominant reading encoded by the media text. Instead, the Hall may negotiate the meaning of the text based on their own perspective and interpretation. This negotiate code allows for disagreements and alternative readings within the framework of the dominant cultural discourse. So, how theory emphasizes the dynamic and interactive nature of communication between media producers and audience. It highlights the complexity of media text and the active role of audiences in interpreting and negotiating by meaning. By recognizing that media message can be decoded in multiple ways, Hall's framework challenged the notion of a singular fixed interpretation and encouraged critical engagement with the media text. So in this material, we can conclude that the role language play in structuring gender, race, and ethnicity and social class. So we consider mass media representations of gender, race, and ethnicity and celebrity, and again highlight the important role that meanings represent through the mass media and can have in shaping our understanding of cultural form and groupings. But here, we also highlight the important work of Stuart Hall, which makes us aware that mass media message need not always be accepted or encountered in the way we are intend and that audiences have the ability to decode and reinterpret the text. So there was from our presentation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.